Hey, this is Truman, my Cape Parrot, and I'm Michael Sazin, the Parrot Wizard, and welcome to all parrots. I want to share with you about my history and story with Truman the Cape Parrot. Well, first of all, you should know that back when Truman was hatched, he was definitely known as a Cape Parrot. I know there's been a scientific name change and some controversy about the name with Cape Parrots, but Truman doesn't know the difference. He was a Cape when he was born, so we still call him a Cape Parrot for that reason. Now, when I first got Truman in 2010, I already had Kili, my Senegal parrot, and because of my strong affection and affinity for Senegal parrots, I figured that a larger Poicephalus parrot would be a Cape parrot like that, would just be a bigger version, a big experience of my already beloved Senegal parrot. Oh boy, did Truman prove that wrong, but I'll come back to that in a little bit. So at first, I was actually considering getting an African Gray because I wanted to get into a mid-sized parrot. I had a lot of success with the smaller Senegal, and I wanted something more to get my hands on. I wanted a more advanced parrot. I wanted to get into more training. I was enjoying training so much and building a personal hands-on relationship with a bird, so I figured bigger bird, bigger experience, right? And I heard that African Greys are some of the smartest, and at first, African Greys was what I was seeking out. However, in the process of my search and due to just personal preference, African Grey didn't quite work out for me at that time. Although little did I know that many years later, I'd be raising and training so many African Grey parrots for my clients. But Cape Parrot just really narrowed down as being the much better choice for me. Unlike African Greys that are powder birds and it's possible to have allergies toward, Cape Parrot is an oil bird, much more similar to the Senegal in that sense. And I figured if a small Senegal parrot can be so good at training, a bigger Cape Parrot would be all that much better. So I got Truman directly from a breeder back in 2010. And from the start, I started videoing and blogging my experiences with him. And that's how he got the name Truman, like Truman from the Truman Show with Jim Carrey. As you know from the show, Truman is born as in the life in front of the camera, and his whole life is there for the entertainment and knowledge of the audience. Well, that was Truman's life at first. So, quoting the Truman Show, while the world he inhabits is in some respects counterfeit, there's nothing fake about Truman himself. No scripts, no cue cards. It isn't always Shakespeare, but it's genuine. It's alive. So the idea of the Truman Show was reflected in Truman's early life, where I shared videos of all of his different training activities and early life. Well, like the Truman Show, little did I know that he didn't really enjoy being the star of his own show like I hoped he would, like Kili my Senegal parrot always was. So Truman's kind of receded to a bit more of a personal life, more in the backgrounds. Truman grew up in the shadow of Kili my Senegal parrot, the smaller bird, but she casts an awful big shadow. And it was always difficult for Truman to fill her perch. So he kind of was, Truman was kind of the understudy for a while, but as I discovered that he's just a really terrific and friendly pet, I found that he didn't really care so much for the publicity and attention. So over time, he became more of a personal pet, more in the background, a little bit less in the spotlight as originally intended. Truman's been through a heck of a lot. He had a terrible injury when he was young, and that shaped some of his early troubles. He had a flyaway in the middle of some of that age, and he'd been missing for several days, and it involved the local news and a whole long story about getting him back, which might share another time. But out of trouble also came good things. Because of when Truman flew away, through a very long and odd story, it led to meeting with Mariana, who had her own macaw at the time, And before you know it, we were together and got married, and Truman was a special surprise wedding gift for her. That is perfectly fitting because even though Truman had always been my buddy and my friend, he really took to a personal loving of Mariana, and they've just been really terrific together. And he became even more so her bird. Even though we've always stayed buddies and I can handle him and he'll do everything for me, you could just tell that he has a certain personal liking and preference for her even more so. But like I said, Truman's life, unlike my other parents, has been a roller coaster of good and difficult moments. Some years back, he had a terrible injury or undiagnosed condition that rendered him unable to fly. And he's been living and struggling with some of the side effects of that ever since. Truman's had a busy life being prodded and poked, getting diagnostics and care from avian veterinarians. He's been checked and seen by different vets for alternate opinions, and he's been under their care and guidance. So again, he has been a little bit more out of the spotlight and more of a family companion bird in the background. We try not to put him in front of the camera too much, but he is always a happy bird, very talkative bird, and I do enjoy sharing it. And I do enjoy sharing him with you when possible, but without putting too much of a burden on him. So, what do you think of Cape Parrots? What do you think of Truman? Be sure to leave me a comment. And if you love Cape Parrots and you love all parrots in general, be sure to follow and subscribe because I've got lots of other parrot videos coming soon.